Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deeper, let's start the show.
Hello, welcome to number 5, episode number 5 of Ramblings of a Busy Mind. My guest today is Adele. Burnout, is that correct? I'm bad with names and the German speaker doesn't help. And Adele is a wonderful person that I took a great breathing course lately with. And she's guided by spirit. Do you call it guides or by spirit, or how do you voice it?
Intuitively guided.
Intuitive guided. And she does some great work with men mainly, correct? Not so much women, mostly men.
No, I work with the women that are attached to the men.
That's a good one.
So it's all about rising together.
Yeah.
Primarily men, because they're the ones calling.
Yeah. And what's your specialty in there, or what is the main topic that they ask for?
So as an intuitive mentor, I have guided people most of my life without even knowing it. And in the last little while, it is the guides of the men who are calling me to say, come work with us. Because in my signature program of Walking You Home, it's all about coming home to who you authentically are, your inner truth. Mm-hmm. And in this age of the feminine rising, the men have to balance their feminine too. And what the feedback is that they don't feel comfortable. Mm. The women are saying that they're weak if they're intuitive, or if they cry, they're not strong enough. And I was like, but you have to share what's on your heart. And that's where they've been saying, will you work with us? And so I'm now going to be starting in May a program for the Renaissance man in the Aquarian age. Mm-hmm. And it's all about getting them to get out of their heads and into their hearts and finding their unique gifts to share to the world, just like the women. And as we rise as a collective in unity into this new world of Aquarius, and it's coming into community and kindness and love, and it's not, we're letting go of the duality, the tit for tat, the domination, right? It's coming into a more loving space, and we all have to shift, the women and the men, because we are in our humanness balanced, but we've been so unbalanced for thousands of years that we're like, how do we do this? And my guides are saying this is how, by letting go of the conditioning, the belief systems and truths of who you've been told you are, and coming into the knowing of who you actually are in your authentic self.
The awareness is a big part, and I find it always so funny that people don't realize how much strength it takes to be vulnerable, because you're putting your heart out there. You're way stronger when you're showing your emotions, when you're authentic, and when you're coming from the heart, than when you are coming from your brain. Even so, everybody says, yeah, but your brain, like you're the masculine or feminine or whatever. See, me being a strong woman, because I trust in myself, and I'm grounded in myself, which I wasn't for the longest time. If you met me 10 years ago, you would have said I'm more an introvert than an extrovert. But I'm an extrovert par excellence. I go out there, I speak with everybody. I have no issue, because I trust in myself and I know how I am and who I am. but it comes from the heart and doesn't come from my head. Because if I would go by my head as I was before, I would go, oh, you're overweight and nobody likes your looks and whatever, but I don't care. I am me. If you like me, like me. If you don't, then let it go. But the authenticity that you find when you are yourself is huge, right? And it
Well,
gives
and
you
it's interesting you say that because 10 years ago, people would have said, "You're so extroverted, like you just the life of the party, like you're just everywhere." And I'm like, but I took so much effort to be that person because that's not me.
yeah. And
I'm actually very
I'm the
quite
reverse.
well, but like, I mean, yes, I can be extroverted when I need to be, but in saying that, to get to that point, I spend a lot of time alone,
Yeah.
right? And we talked about being vulnerable, and it's this program has stretched me so far out of my comfort zone
Hmm.
that I'm like, I'm doing it because I'm guided to do it, but I'm not coming willingly. like like I'll say that um like I know it's the right thing to do. I know because in my previous career in oil and gas, like men talk to me. Men would talk to me about their wives, their kids, their hang-ups, like, had nothing to do with work, right? And so I know I've always had this innate um, gift to understand them,
Hmm.
right? And hence, even growing up, did I have girlfriends? No, I had guy friends because they go, "Well, what's wrong with Sally?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Same here.
I said, "I look like a girl, but I don't understand girls." Um, and so yeah, so it just made sense that my higher guides are saying, "But you, this is what you chose to do," and I'm like, "No, I didn't."
Mm.
And so then I had different people in networking, different people like they're highly intuitive, and they're like, "This is your calling," and I'm like, "Would people stop saying this?" And then I'd go into meditation and say, "Is this really my calling?" And it is. And as I started writing the program out and I was like, oh, this is going to be helping so many men.
Mm.
And then my heart gets mushy because I'm like, they need the help. They want the help. They want to rise up in their own feminine,
Hmm.
right? And because the bigger thing is that um, how this all came about is who is your father? Has anyone asked who their father is prior becoming a husband, a provider, a father?
Hmm.
What dreams did they have before they had all the responsibilities that society put on them?
Hmm.
And if you think about society now, we're actually in a pandemic of no love.
Yeah. No compassion. Absolutely.
No, like people aren't um they're not even getting together for friendship, let alone
Hmm.
hookups, let
Hmm.
alone relationships, because it's just easier to be alone.
Yeah. I find that was part of the burnout that I couldn't deal with other people, but
Hmm.
coming out of it, part of that was that I needed to be with people, and that meant also relationships. Not that I have one because I'm still maybe too picky or whatever you want to
No,
call
but I
that.
mean, it's a relationship with
But
a dog, a cat,
yeah,
like
and that's
just a
what
friend.
people don't realize. Like a relationship doesn't mean have a partner. It's not always, even if you're friends, you are in a relationship, even if you're just acquaintances, you are in a kind of relationship. But as soon as you take that word relationship, it's always bound on a partnership, a sexual partnership, an intimacy. And I find even you can be intimate with friends on a different level,
Hmm.
right?
It's also a relationship with your barista at the coffee shop.
Yeah,
Get to know
yeah,
their name, get
yeah,
to know who they are,
yeah.
right? And Um, but it's more important. Like when I'm saying about walking you home, it's about letting go of the outside world and truly coming into what your heart is saying. It's getting out of the muckety muck of what you've been told, the conditionings, the beliefs in your head, and dropping into your heart and saying, "Well, who am I?"
Mm-hmm.
And when I when I say to people, it's really funny. Start small, like look in the mirror every day and ask, "Who are you?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you'll eventually be able to stand in the mirror in your full glory birthday suit and say, "I love you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's
And I've had both men and women say that will never happen.
oh yes it does.
And I said, it will, because you'll start loving yourself. You'll understand that this beautiful soul is being housed in this suit.
Yeah. And
Who
that's
cares what the suit looks like? The soul is beautiful.
the part of that is in my work with the burnout and the stress, or realizing like where I came from and how I evolved, was the disconnect from my body, not being like, not only my soul, let's say, like I was so disconnected from myself. I was not living, I was surviving, I was not thriving, I was not moving into a part where, and that's where I see the value in your program, because getting to know yourself and getting to be comfortable in your own skin is such a big part of knowing where your boundaries are, knowing what is allowed and what is not, knowing is this is fine with me or not. And it's also knowing your intuition and trusting yourself to go, um, my gut says no, so I step away. Or you walk towards a room and you realize there's something not okay, so I just turn around and do something else. Or honoring yourself by saying, no, I'm not going to the party that I agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not meeting the people that I agreed to. It's okay to say, I'm not me today, so I take my time. And I'm sitting with myself, and I give myself the permission to be myself and get better or get to where I need to.
Well, and I want to touch on the burnout because I don't know anyone yet that hasn't had burnout in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Years ago, when I was working corporate, and you're in that space where you can't just say, "Well, I'm not going to the meeting." You're expected to be in the meeting. You're expected to do your job, and I feel, and this is in my experience, the burnout happens in most people who I've worked with because they're doing their wrong vocation.
They're not happy.
They're not listening to their gut. They're like, it's like they're an engineer because they're supposed to be an engineer because their parents said to be an engineer to get the good job to be the provider, male or female, doesn't matter.
Mm.
If they actually took them into a quiet room and let them relax and say, if you didn't have all these other stressors in your life, what would you be?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a pianist. I'd be an artist. I'd be a doctor. It's not saying that the professions are wrong. It's saying this is where I was supposed to go. And then you think of the duality of it. Well, some of the best musicians were going down the engineering architecture route.
Yeah.
They balance each other out,
Yeah. Yeah. I
right?
hear
And
you
so,
completely.
yeah, and so like so for me, I came from an entrepreneurial family,
Mm.
long generation of it. And then I said, no, I saw the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. I'm going to get a job. The
You were not
career,
happy.
the career ladder tried killing me. I ended
Mm.
up in the hospital a few times. I ended up flat out on my couch, like I can't move. And I'm like, this isn't for me. But the intuitiveness was always there. The guidance was always there. But I was trying to not listen to do the corporate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
Like
hear you.
especially as many years ago when I could do this, people weren't talking about the woo woo. People weren't talking about, what do you mean you have guides? What do you mean you channel? Right? I've had lifetimes when I've been killed. I am very aware of it. And it was really funny. I even had a friend who was a psychologist who said, "Have you ever thought that you won't get killed this time?" And I'm like, "That's a nice thought. I'm not trusting it yet
Mm,
because you're the only one that's saying that.
mm,
Until I can feel that in my body,
mm-hmm.
I can't trust that." And it wasn't until this year that all these men were coming to me and just saying, "Please build something for us, please." And I'm like, hmm, maybe I won't get killed this time. But
You
it's
know,
taken a long time, and the burnout's real for anyone who's listening. But the burnout is also probably the hundredth or thousandth sign that your body's been saying, "Time to wake up.
yeah,
This isn't the path for you."
yeah. I was looking back at my life and looking back at it, the signs that I would go into burnout were already there when I was 18.
Hmm.
Because already then I was putting everybody else before me.
Hmm.
And I find a lot of times it's not only that, but it's that you are faced with expectations, or you perceive that somebody has expectations towards you that you want to fulfill. That's the crux of it. They might not even have those expectations, but you perceive them as being there and you want to fulfill them.
Hmm.
And as long as you're not connected with yourself, as long as you don't hear yourself, and I mean that in an intuitive way, of gut feeling, of something that's stopping you, like having the feeling that something's pulling you back or whatever. All of those signs are there, and if we are opening our awareness, we can all perceive them, no matter what training we have or whatever. Kids can do that. Kids are so open to the energy information around them and to translate it into their intuition and then to follow it, and then they are trained not to do that.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up kids because kids can tell their parents all they want. If the parents are in their heads, they're not listening. They will not
Absolutely.
hear it.
Yeah.
And the kids nowadays are so intuitive and guided beyond what we will ever understand. And I see it all the time. Like these kids don't have to watch what's going on. They're smelling what you're putting out in vibration. They're smelling the emotion that's going on. So you might have a conversation with your partner. You think the kids are out playing, they're not knowing anything.
No, they know exactly
No,
what's going
they
on.
know exactly
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you think you can hide anything from them, yeah, you can't.
I find it funny because when you said smelling, like part of my therapeutic touch training was to open up, or after we did therapeutic touch, a colleague and mine of mine, and we created a workshop that's called Raising Bioenergetic Awareness. And basically, what it is, it trains you to listen to all of your five senses, as much as sounds funny to listen to. But what we learned when we took our energetic training, our therapeutic touch training, was that people were frustrated because it was always said, "What do you feel? How does it feel when you do this and that?" They didn't feel, they didn't relate because it was not in their hands. It was a picture they got, it was a taste they got, it was a smell. Like one of my teachers, for the longest time, smelled energy and didn't know what to do with it. So when we shifted to what comes to mind or what do you sense, it all of a sudden opened the whole world for those people that were so frustrated because they thought they were not good in what they were doing. Meanwhile, they were giving the best treatments ever, just not knowing that they got the cues and they understood the cues somewhere. And then if you change your language to understanding what is going on, or to open the possibilities that it's not just feeling, it's not just hearing, it's not just seeing, tasting, or whatever, it can be all of them, then all of a sudden you have so much more information coming in that comes back as intuition. And if you're open to
Well,
that, you learn to trust, right? And
and it's also it's just like the five languages of love. It's like it's a great starting point, Like our five senses are a great starting point, yet we are being asked to use them differently
Mm-hmm.
because we're able to see beyond what our physical eyes can see. We can hear differently than our physical ears can, right? And I can't remember who it is, but she always says that, like, I want you to see the lemon. I want you to feel the lemon. I want you to cut the lemon. You can smell the lemon, and then I want you to taste the lemon. And you can have two people in the room. You can have 3,000 in the room. Everyone will winch when she says taste the lemon. There's no lemons,
Yeah, I know. I know. It's
right?
like we did we offered the color red. So was one of the exercises. You offered the color red to somebody. And somebody came back and said, "I tasted red apples."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I felt red light on me or whatever. So that was like the things that you translate the information to doesn't have to be the same thing that's been offered to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when you don't know what to do with that information, you don't know how to use it. You don't know to put it into a place where it helps you. And what I find, the more aware I am of what my intuition tells me, my senses bring back to me, the more I got into the spiritual, the more I got to into messages, receiving messages for others. So often when I get a treatment or I take a treatment from somebody, no, I get, I'll accept the treatment from somebody. Um, it becomes a place where I get a message for them while they're working on me, which is very interesting when you consider our usual part of you are the one being treated and you are the one doing the treatment. And now it becomes an interaction, right?
Well, I've always had the interactions because if I say I'm going for a massage, I'm going to that massage therapist because my body's okayed it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'll say, if you're a massage therapist, can I go to Natasha? No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I go to Bob? Yes.
Yeah, but
Right?
you are used to
But
do that.
hang on.
I do that too.
No, but hang on. So
Yeah.
then I say, okay, so I go to Bob and I go, okay. And he's like, so what are we working on? We'll say whatever. And then he'll be like, wow, your body speaks to me
Mm-hmm.
because we're energetically aligned,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's mine, it's your body, anybody's body. If that person is aligned to you, whatever modality,
Mm-hmm.
together you're going to raise the vibrations to a higher level.
But most people who don't have our training or our knowledge don't even understand that. That's the
Well, and
biggest challenge.
that's why there's the ones that are out there for, like, okay, go get a massage, whatever. And then there's the enlightened ones that you're just like, ah, lovely.
For me, one of the funniest uh, revelations was that I was Therapeutic Touch, and in Germany at that time when I left Germany 18 years ago, Reiki was I call it money grabber. So they did expensive courses and whatever. So I didn't have a very good opinion of Reiki at that time. And then I started Therapeutic Touch, and I liked it because it was so basic and simple, and you are energy, I'm energy, we can influence each other, right? And then go it was like 3 or 4 years back during COVID. I'm
Mhm.
sitting there and I'm thinking about the people that do work with me or that I pick as healing partners for me. They're all Reiki practitioners.
Mhm. Well, and it's funny that you brought up therapeutic touch because I did the courses out here with Brian, and I was well into burnout by the time I went to that course,
Mhm. Me too.
trying to fight it off. And we were trying to do partner, and he go sit. I go, what? Go sit. And I go look at his partner and I go, why does he make me go sit? She goes, oh, sweetheart, you're not working on anybody. You are only getting it. I'm like, okay. And I didn't fight it because I knew the fact that I drove there, which is close to 3 hours away,
Yeah,
was actually sitting there semi coherent in the course.
yeah.
I was well beyond what I could manage.
I fell asleep in my courses.
Well, I just,
That
yeah, like,
minutes.
so because, and it was funny because when I went to do some work with a friend who actually got me in touch with him, and she was like, "Oh, now you can practice." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm better." But
But
it's
that's
also
also,
honoring that,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
honoring when you are up to doing the work. Like, say for this podcast, we had set the time, whatever. And if you or I showed up and said, it's not happening today, we have to honor that.
I had that today. CJ Johnson was supposed to be recorded before you. And CJ came on and said, I'm sick. I said, go home, sleep. Because no, we don't do that. We don't force ourselves to, like, I had to do that last Sunday. I had, because I was in Bridgewater doing the market. I cannot go back, and I couldn't even drive. Like, if I had not done stuff for myself, I could not
Mhm.
drive. And thankfully, working with the sound and frequency, I know will balance me. So the first thing I did in the morning, I went to all the practitioners that I liked. I had a gong bath in the morning, I had massages in the morning, and so on. And I scheduled my day so I had breaks in between where I could take care of myself.
Mhm.
So I went in there in full knowledge that if I would have been home, I would have been in bed. I would not have gone. But I
Mhm.
had to drive 4.5 hours, so I needed to get better, which thankfully I could do during the day, right? And that's the part, like honoring your boundaries, honoring yourself to a point that you make sure you are safe, you are in a good place, you are 100%. And by the time I went home, I drove the 4.5 hours through. I did pee breaks and coffee breaks, just grab a coffee. I didn't even stop to get out of the car much, other than go to the washroom, because I was so energized and I was so good. So I got home by 9 o'clock at night, and I was still wide awake and
But
not
the thing
sleeping.
is, this is where we gotta be very careful as coming into the new human.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just keep pushing through, get a
No,
session, push through, get a session, because the body will fry.
and that's what I said. If I would have been home, I would have not done that. But I had, thankfully, at the market, I had the ability, or at the fair, I had the ability to pick um, vibrational things that would lift me up and would help me get to, like, I had physical massages, literally, and I had a gong bath and sessions that were not, that were more spiritual, or how you call that, subtle
Just
energy,
overloading yourself.
subtle energies instead of physical. So I had all three dimensions that I could cover. Otherwise, I would not have, as I said, if I would have been home, I would have stayed in bed. I wouldn't have gone out. I would have taken care of myself and not done anything. And I cut my stuff. The work that I did was mostly talking and not so much physical work on bodies. It was more information and educational, which was also keeping me in a safe space that I didn't have to work on many very people in a way that I couldn't, right?
Well, and it's interesting because I think about all the body courses I've taken, and then my guides are like, "Stop it!
Mm-hmm.
You are not the body worker." And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I use the sound on the back as a more as an educational tool,
Mhm.
because if people can feel the vibration and the sound at the same time, they get so such a profound relaxation experience that they go like, wow, I didn't believe that was possible. I'd rather have them sitting in a zero gravity chair and having the singing bowls on them and then talk through whatever we talk through than rubbing a butt, which I do. If I do a back distressor, I use the singing bowl with a suction cup on the back and tuning
Mhm.
forks. And that's physically really exhausting for me because it's real physical work. I'd rather
Mhm.
have them sit in their chair and talk, because I find with the talk we have the sonosomatic experience of the sound and the vibration of the singing bowls, and then when we bring the talk and we combine body, mind, and emotion at the same time, and the release is so huge because you're working on all dimensions at the same time and not just on one or two, if at all,
Mhm.
right?
No, I
Yeah.
get it. But either, so just for whoever's listening, it doesn't matter how you get into balance. The main point is
To
this
get
new
into
world
feeling.
is all about the human balance and harnessing in that, because You were chosen to be here at this time. There'll never be another you or me again before or after this. And we are all here to shine our light, our gifts, and our talents to the world. And it's time to step up.
True words.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention your course again that's going to come up? Because we're going to put
Sure.
that in the caption. No, not in the caption. Yeah, caption.
So right now, I just have some intro events. You could find them on LinkedIn or Facebook under events. And the course will be starting in the first week of May.
Mhm.
And it's all about walking you home, the Renaissance man in the Aquarian age. And this is open to men and women, but the classes will be separate. Men will
Cool.
have their own pod, women will have their own pod.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited because it's the true awakening of the authentic self. And it's been a long time coming.
And I think it's a big step. Like if you are in burnout or if you're stressed, you want to connect with yourself. I think your course is one of the things that I would recommend to anybody
Thank you.
because getting connected with yourself is so important when you are at that place because you're so lost, right?
Well, and one of the final clinchers to get this course going was talking to a gentleman who was married a long time. Like this is a long time ago, but he was never asked if he wanted to stay home with the kids.
Mm.
They were both making about the same money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she said, "Of course I'm staying home." But he was brought up in a progressive family where son or daughter, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You look after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a partnership, still look after yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
While looking after others. And it was quite amazing how all these years later there's still that tinge of like I was never given the choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the man. I go be the provider and I'm like, uh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of men who are stay-at-home dads who are phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not like, and that's again, that's expectations that are brought forward from our society mainly and the way we
Hmm.
are brought up.
Hmm.
Um, and it doesn't mean we have to fulfill them, right?
And it doesn't matter. That's all gone.
Yeah.
All that dualistic, all that, well, you have to do, that's gone. We're in a new era.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's like, I don't know if other people are feeling this or even understand it, but being in the year of the snake, think about where you were 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What were you trying to get rid of 12 years ago? Oh, I was in burnout 12 years ago. I was like, or I'm not in just general, right? This is the time to shed that skin once and for all and fully
Mm-hmm.
shine your light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know, I hear you.
It's, yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
No, never. Healing is not easy. Healing is not comfortable. It can
but
be
the change is
easier,
here.
but it's not easy per se, right?
And I did have a chuckle when you said episode 5. I said, of course I'm episode 5. I'm a transition mentor, and 5 in numerology is all about change.
See, that's why CJ had to be sick today. Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
No, but like it's just we cannot, like it's like the old saying, make a plan, God laughs. We can't orchestrate this,
Yeah, no, no, follow with the flow or go with the flow if you
right?
don't want to go
And
spiritual.
the the flow is inward,
Yeah,
regardless of what you see outward.
yeah, I know.
So you see those kids in school who know how to be inward, regardless of what's happening on the playground.
Mm,
They're amazing.
mm-hmm. I know, and it's easy for them.
Hmm.
That's the part. Like you can go with the flow or you can go against it. The easier path is always with the flow, right?
And if any teachers are listening, it's the teachers who understand that if they're just little Johnny's just standing in the middle of the playground, not really talking, playing, or doing anything with him, he's grounding and regulating so he can go back in and learn.
Mm-hmm. Interesting idea and thought processes. Like I didn't think about it that way.
So the teachers who understand the
Yeah.
highly, highly sensitive kids, and I even worked for a school here that I'd go, what? And she goes, it's math class, but they wouldn't sit still. So she's running times tables in the gym because they wouldn't sit still. So she may as well run them. Or you go walk by a social studies class and like half the kids are laying on the floor. And I'm like, they don't care.
Yeah.
Do the work. If it's more comfortable, sit in your chair, sit in your chair. If it's more comfortable, lay down. If it's more like whatever.
I'm the one pacing in the background because I can't sit.
Yeah. So, right. And even for myself, right? Like because of my name, they always put me on the door of this classroom. Not the best place for me.
No.
Because I'm looking out the big world of everything I can go explore once the boring class is done. But if they just flipped the classroom, put me on the window, I would have heard everything in the class.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because I went to go back to university as an adult. And I went to sit by the door and I'm like, oh, come on, you know better. And I picked up my stuff and went over to the window. Not because I wanted to be by the window. I needed to have my back to the window, so I'd stay in the class.
Knowing yourself.
Well, I had 12 years of regular school that I was on the door and I never heard a thing. So.
Adele, thank you so much. We are way beyond 30 minutes. Sorry. I love chatting with you because it's so cool. The topics that come up are always so multiple and still all on the same platform or the same topic, but they go all direction, and that's typical burnout brain. Left, right, up, down, whatever comes to mind comes out, and that's why I wanted to create Ramblings of a Busy Mind, to have a open conversation that's not regulated, that's not cut down to anything. So I'm not gonna take anything out of what we talked here. And thank you so much to come in. And
thank you for having me.
I think it probably won't be the last time that we see you here. I just have to.
I'd be honored.
Thank you, Adele. And yes, see you soon. I'm gonna put all your information underneath the video so that people can reach you if they want to take the course, and or if they're interested in having a session with you, whatever.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, all the shine. Oh, welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deep, let's start the show. Questions, answers, here they go.